Regular meeting of the Elmwood Park Mayor and Council to order for April 2nd, 2015 at 8 p.m. On roll call, council members Catamagna. Here. Coletti. Here. Martino. Here. Pedagano is absent due to illness. Foncino. Here. Dombrowski. Here. Mayor Moeller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Will everyone please rise for our prayer and flags? Oh God, our Father, we ask you to bless our meeting which we trust in fatherly care and protection. Please remove all selfishness and prejudice from our hearts and plant them in a keen sense of justice and a greater love for you and our neighbor. Guide us in our deliberations so our decisions will always please you and bring peace and happiness to our community. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whereas Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of the State of New Jersey requires the commencement of every meeting a statement by the presiding officer, now therefore be advised the meeting requirements of this meeting have been met by posting an annual notice in the Record of Hackensack and the Herald News of Woodland Park, and by posting such notice in the office of the Borough Clerk as well as in a public place within the municipal building, and notifying interested citizens. Said notice was posted on January 1, 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is being videoed. It'll be on cable channel number 77. It'll be on Tuesday, 12 noon, Thursday, 4 p.m., Friday, 10 a.m. It is also on our own Elmwood Park website. And Mr. Kazmark, please correct me if I'm wrong. We have recently been advised that we can have this meeting on Verizon, Channel 40, and on the same days, Tuesday, 12 noon, Thursday, 4 p.m., and Friday, 10 a.m. So we have coverage on two cable vision channels, and we like to keep the transparency going from our council meetings. So we hope that you would look at those and be aware of what's going on within our community. Mr. Kazmark?
Mayor, at this time, we'll move on to the approval of minutes from the March 26, 2015 executive session.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Second.
Mr. Catamagna, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Some of them said aye, some of them didn't say aye, but
I said
we
aye.
have more ayes. You always need a lot of ayes, as all the policemen know.
Mayor, to start tonight's meeting, we have the appointment of our new police officer, Resolution R 111-15, appoint police officer Ryan Nichols to the Elmwood Park Police Department. Be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that the following named being is hereby appointed as a police officer in the Department of Police within the Borough of Elmwood Park. Ryan Nichols, Elmwood Park, New Jersey. Be it further resolved that said appointment is in accordance with the intergovernmental transfer process as promulgated by the New Jersey Civil Service Commission. And be it further resolved that remuneration is set at a rate of $43,497 effective April 2nd, 2015. Mayor will need a motion.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Boncino, second. Mr. Martino. Any discussion? Call a roll, please.
On roll call, council members Catamagna.
Yes.
Coletti.
Abstain.
Martino.
Yes.
Pedagano is absent. Foncino.
Yes.
Dombrowski.
Yes.
Motion carries. At this time, I would ask that the Elmwood Park Police Honor Guard escort our newest police officer into the chambers for his installation. Please rise. Officer Nichols, if you and your family would like to come forward to be installed by Mayor Moeller. Please be seated.
Excuse me, ma'am. You're gonna. There you go.
I repeat your name.
I, Ryan Nichols,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
to the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and this state,
under the authority of the people,
and the authority of the people,
that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of police
all
officer
the duties of police officer
in the borough of Elmwood Park.
in the borough of Elmwood Park.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. It's always a pleasure to swear in a new police officer, and we have almost the whole police force here. And it's very good to see you all here when you have a new officer sworn in. I thank you for coming. And the gentleman who was with us when we were sworn in is the father of our new police officer. He's a deputy chief in Patterson. So we have a young man who's moving on. At some point in time, I think that Police Chief Feligno is going to get police officers more his size and more our size, my size. We keep looking up, so but that's always good. Thank you. Congratulations and welcome to Elmwood Park. Chief, you want to say something?
Just want to thank the mayor and council for your continued support of the police department. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I say something? May I say something? Mayor.
Anyone on the council?
Yes, Mayor. First of all, Ryan, I'd like to welcome you aboard. Congratulations. You're joining a fine, distinguished force here that's working very hard for this community. We know that you'll do the same. Stay safe. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, Ryan, again, I just wanted to welcome you to Borough of Elmwood Park as you begin the next chapter in your career. You're going to be working with a fantastic group of men and women. Wish you nothing but the best and much success. Thank you.
Thank you. Keith?
Mayor, we'll move on to ordinances on first reading this evening. Our first resolution is R 112-15, introduce ordinance 15-09 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled a bond ordinance to appropriate an additional sum of $96,200 for the construction of ADA handicap access curb ramps at Market Street and Midland Avenue in, by, and for the Borough of Elmwood Park and County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such an additional appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, be passed and adopted on first reading. Be it resolved that final hearing on said ordinance will be held in the municipal building on Thursday, April 16th, 2015 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter, same can be heard, at which time and place all persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be and he is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper and notice of introduction and final hearing is required by law.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dombrowski, second.
Second.
Mr. Pedigano?
Mayor, if I-
Excuse me, Mr. Martino.
Mayor, if I may, on this bond ordinance, just for the council's edification, this was brought to me this week by the Chief Financial Officer after his consultation with the County of Bergen. This is a reimbursable grant from the County of Bergen for these ADA handicap ramps through the Community Development Block Grant Program. So we will not be incurring any debt with regard to this. This is just so that we have something to charge the project to, and then we will ultimately be reimbursed in full by the county of Bergen for the work to be done
Thank you.
as part of this project.
Keith, do you have a microphone?
We can't hear you.
I do.
Maybe you can use that one. It's very difficult to hear you.
Okay.
Motion, please?
We have a motion and a second, Mayor.
You have it, okay.
I do.
Call a roll.
On roll call, council members Catamagna.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Pettigano is absent. Bonsino.
Yes.
Dombrowski.
Yes.
Motion carries. Also on first reading this evening, we have Resolution R-113-15, introduce ordinance 15-10 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance to Amend Section 7:8-3C and E of Chapter 7 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Traffic be passed and adopted on first reading, and be it resolved that final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, April 2nd, 2015, at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter, same can be heard, at which time and place all persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be, and he is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper a notice of introduction and final hearing as required by law. Mayor, the public hearing on this will be April 16th.
Motion, please?
So moved.
So Dombrowski, second?
Second.
Mr. Martino, discussion? Keith, this is our traffic ordinance for snow, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. May I indicate that the Showbot Lane is misspelled?
Yes.
C-H-O-B-O-T.
It was corrected on the online version.
Okay, good. Call a roll, please.
On roll call, council members Catamagna.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Pettigano is absent. Bonsino.
Yes.
Dombrowski.
Yes.
Motion carries. And our final ordinance on first reading tonight, Resolution 114-15, introduce ordinance 15-11 on first reading. Be it resolved that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance Amending and Supplementing Chapter 14-1.10F, entitled Fire Prevention Technical Amendments of the Borough of Elmwood Park, be passed and adopted on first reading, and be it resolved that a final hearing on said ordinance will be heard in the municipal building on Thursday, April 16th, 2015, at 8 p.m., or soon thereafter, as same can be heard, at which time and place all persons interested in said ordinance can be heard. Be it further resolved that the Borough Clerk be, and he is hereby authorized to advertise in a legal newspaper a notice of introduction and final hearing as required by law.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Coletti, second.
Second.
Mr. Dombrowski, discussion?
If I may, Mayor? For those of you that don't know, most of you probably do, we have had a ordinance regarding property owners where fire hydrant existed, that is their responsibility to keep that fire hydrant clear of snow. For their safety, their family's safety, and their neighbor's safety. Tonight, we are adding a violation amount of up to $500 if you were to violate that. Now, keep in mind, our objective is not to get you a $500. That's the last thing in the world that we want. What we want is a snow-free fire hydrant. So let's remain cognizant of that next winter, and hopefully we'll never have to enforce one summons regarding fire hydrants. Mayor?
Any other comments?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Conrad.
Well, this time I'm going to vote yes because the reason why last meeting I was against it because it was a $2,000 fine.
Right.
It's a lot of money. Even the 500 would, but this is up to $500, which I hope the judge be lenient. I'm very concerned about people who are unable to clear the snow, and perhaps maybe these people should call the police department, say, look, I can do it, send some help. We should be able to provide help, either volunteers or maybe DPW should go there. Maybe not all of them will be unable to do the work. So I will vote yes, up to $500. It's okay if people are negligent. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. One of my concerns is that there's no minimum fine on the ordinance, and plus you have to go to court. And it's almost, in my estimation, a double jeopardy. You go to court, you lose a day's work, so you're paying that, you're losing that money from court. And then it's up to a $500 fine, and we don't know what the minimum is. We just had first reading of the snow plowing in our streets, no parking on our streets, and there's a $100 fine if you go to court, could be up to 100, and if you pay without going to court, you don't contest it, it's only 75. So I wish you would look that over and see if we can get them in unity. Just a double fine, losing money to go to court, you have to go to court according to this ordinance, and then it's up to 500, and quite frankly, I don't know how the judge verifies a $50 fine, $75 fine, a $100 fine. What's his fine going to be? What's his determination as to what it costs? I did check, and what can be done on this, and we can look at it. It's only first reading. The police department can keep track of these fines, and we could put down a fine of $100 or whatever you choose. Second fine $200, third fine $500, and he can keep track of that the way they keep track of the calls that come in for emergencies at businesses. They keep track of that. So it might be something else that you can look at and see if we can come up with something more specific. Call the roll, please.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I understand your comments, but I would like to also say that if it is the responsibility of the individual to make sure that their fire hydrants are cleared. It will cost this borough a lot more money if this ordinance isn't followed, and we allow people to get away with leaving their fire hydrants obstructed. So, in my estimation, seeing the judge is the right thing to do. The judge can determine to give them a 0 fee or up to a $500 fee. He will listen to the individual as to why it wasn't done, but at least that individual will understand that the next time there's an obstruction, hopefully it'll take it to heart and do something about it. Again, my concern here is what will it cost this borough if there is an actual fire and there's a life loss? Is there really a dollar amount we could put on that?
Don't misconstrue my statement. I'm not opposed to this ordinance. I'm just saying that maybe it can be streamlined a little bit so people wouldn't have to be coming in and having double jeopardy. They have to lose a day's pay for work, and then they have a fine, whatever the judge decides, and that may be 500, it may not be. It depends on the judge. So, call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Catapano?
Yes.
Coletti?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Pettigano is absent. Bonsino?
Yes.
Dombrowski?
Yes.
Motion carries. Mayor, this evening on second reading, we have Resolution R 115-15, introduce ordinance 15-03 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled "An Ordinance to Exceed the Municipal Budget Appropriation Limits and to Establish a Cap Bank." And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, March 19th, 2015, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled "An Ordinance to Exceed the Municipal Budget Appropriation Limits and to Establish a Cap Bank" pass on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
So
Can you
moved.
hear him on the video? Okay, because we're still having trouble with Keith.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Dombrowski, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Martino. Discussion? Call the roll. This will help us, quite frankly, this will help us next year in the budget again.
Mayor, that motion was to open the
That's
meeting
better.
to the public.
Okay. Anyone who wishes to speak on this? Second reading. No one wishes to speak? I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion to...
So moved.
Mr. Dombrowski, second.
Second.
Mr. Coletti? Oh,
Third.
Mr. Martino? I'm
Fourth.
sorry.
Aye.
Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Catapano?
Yes.
Coletti? Yes. Martino?
Yes.
Pettigano is absent. Bonsino?
Yes.
Dombrowski?
Yes.
Motion carries. Also on second reading this evening, we have Resolution R 116-15, introduce ordinance 15-04 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled "An Ordinance Amending Chapter 2:27.1 entitled Creation of the Department and Its Membership." And whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting on Thursday, March 19th, 2015, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting, and whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled "An Ordinance Amending Chapter 2:27-1 entitled Creation of the Department Members pass on final reading. Mayor, this is in relation to the table of organization for the Elmwood Park Police Department. We'll need a
Motion, please.
Motion to open to the public.
Motion, I'll open the public. Anyone wish to speak on the public? From the public. No one wish to speak? I'll close the public portion. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Bonsino, second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Dombrowski, discussion?
Yes, Mayor. Just to follow up on Mr. Kazmark's comments, this ordinance updates our table of organization to provide for 2 additional lieutenant positions. We had 2, we're moving to 4 to align that with the number of sergeants, balance the squads. It holds the roster at 40 as it was previously. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
If I may, Mayor?
Yes.
I will be voting no this evening on this ordinance. We are increasing the rank and file by 2 members. I know the table of organization states we can go up to 40 if need be. In the last 2.5 years, we've gone from 33 members to 38 on the force. Police department seems to be doing a bang-up job at that level, so why are we increasing it? And my concerns are the burden it will place on future budgets and the taxpayers of Elmwood Park. And I ran some rough numbers. Now, understand, when it's needed, what I'm about to say has no bearing, but I feel we're on the cusp of where we possibly don't need these 2 extra officers. They will eventually cost us $2.5 million apiece. Now, if you need it, fine. You don't need it. That is a $2.5 million per police officer that the taxpayers in the future will be paying. Now, if you consider that they're here for 25 years, and if they were a transfer, say typical what we have this evening, coming here with 2 or 3 or 4 years in back of them, we're saddled with them for, say, 20 years. If you incorporate that salary, plus the lifetime benefits after they leave, and say they live for 30 years, we're talking about close to $2.5 million. And I just feel that in bad times, we're very cognizant of our dollar spending, and times are getting a little better, so why do we have to change our approach? We're all happy with a 0 budget, right? Well, the way that comes from year after year after year being frugal and sometimes making hard decisions like I'm making here tonight. So that's the reasons why I'll be voting no.
Any other discussion?
Can I say something, Mayor? Mr. Colletti, if you remember, a few years back, 7 officers, we talk about brass, resigned, they went on pension. Since then, we saved over $1 million. Are you aware of that?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Frank.
When our chief, deputy chief, and the captains, all those guys, 7 people, they retire from police force, we save over $1 million. Remember that? Now, I think as of today, we're still under. We're still saving money. Even though you get a 40 police officer altogether, we still add over $300,000. So I don't know how you figure those millions of dollars are going to cost us. You talk about during the life
The whole
of this
lifespan.
place. The lifespan, okay. Well, I mean, that's,
You got it.
if we figure that, I should say all the money I earned since I came to America must be millions of dollars. I should be multimillionaire. I cannot use that because, of course, it kind of cost us money. And
Well,
no,
Frank,
the point is that now we have a better system set up. We see the kind of work our chief is doing today. They clean up all the drug dealers that come to a town, make a lot of arrests. There was a need for that. We need so many police officers for safety. If you count the pennies, money, I understand they will all like to save money, but safety comes first. I want to live in this town and be safe for me, my family, and everybody else in town. We needed to, you see for yourself, every week, there's many major arrests here. All kinds of drug dealers come to a town. And I think it's worth it, whatever money it costs us. As I say, we still save over $300,000 as of today. Talk about this year. Next year, we'll see what happens.
well, my question is, where do you draw the line in the sand? Now, like you, I have 2 grandchildren live in this town, my son, my daughter-in-law, my wife, and I. And I feel very safe in this town, and I felt safe in the last 2.5 years. Doesn't mean that we had to stay at 33, but where do you draw the line in the sand to where it's diminishing returns considering the taxpayer? That's my point. When would you be satisfied? Are you satisfied at 40 now? Or can you
Right now,
go
I
up to
think-
50?
No, I'm not saying that because we know we're still understaffed according to the other towns, how many police they need. We're still understaffed. 40, I think, will be a good number. The system we have now, is gonna work okay. You say that 2 years ago, you felt very safe, but 2 years ago, now, maybe I felt safe myself, but when I see all these people being arrested here, I don't know if I was safe 2 years ago. I feel much better this year.
Any
Mayor.
other discussion?
Mayor, if I may. I'd like to let the people know that our auditor and our CFO took into consideration the current, what we are at right now, the 40 officers, and then we are still at a zero budget. They took that into consideration prior to us agreeing to a zero tax budget. So that number has already been addressed, we're still able to come in with a zero. So I think that we did our due diligence, and I do believe, I agree with Councilman Caramagna, our police department last year had a total of 62 drug arrests all year. We're well over 70, and we're only in the beginning of April. So it is an epidemic out there. It's an epidemic that we probably weren't able to fight with 33 officers, and we are able to fight it today. So I will be voting yes.
Joe, I have a question.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, Steve. I'll forget it if I don't get it out.
No, it's fine.
If there's such an epidemic, and I don't know, I'm not a professional on the item, but if there's an epidemic, why are we not seeking county help to support this epidemic? Obviously, and I read the newspaper too, a lot of these busts are people from out of town. Would you say 70% of them are?
At least.
All right, now, that's my point. If we are a conduit of drugs in this town, why should we take the full burden when the county should be aiding us in offsetting some of our expenses?
I think it reaches further than the county, sir. I think it goes to a national level that nationally we need to start fighting harder on this crime on drugs. I can't agree with you more, but you have to remember, Elmwood Park is the highway to a specific town across the river from us, where many of these purchases are being made. They make the purchase in the other town, they need their fix, and they stop in Elmwood Park. They stop on our streets, they stop in our parking lots. So, as I said, it is an epidemic. And yes, we wish we could get some county funds, or state funds, or national funds. But until we do something as a nation against drugs, it's not going to stop. And we have to protect our people.
Mr. Martino?
Yeah, Councilman Coletta, you said about 2.5 million, correct. But let's not be overwhelmed by that number. That number is over a 20-year period. I do
No,
think-
actually, it's over a 55-year period. 55 year period.
Even worse. So let's not worry about 55 years from now. Let's worry about what's happening today.
Well, the impact comes before the 55 years.
You
I'm sorry,
said you would let me speak, right?
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay. The impact is today, what's going on today. We can't look into the future. At least I'm not smart enough to look into the future. So let's worry about today. And as Councilman Dombrowski said, we budgeted this for this year. They knew we were going to put the officers on, and we still came up with a zero budget. So I think as of today, true, we have to worry about a few years from now. But I can't look into the future 20 years from now concerned about hiring a police officer now when I'm in retirement.
If I may just comment on what you're saying, Steve, the impact starts next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. So it's not just at the end of the 55 years that we're dealing with the additional costs. It actually starts next year. And my point is, it'd be nice to be sitting here 2 or 3 years from now telling the public that we're going to bring zero in again. But if we don't watch, that won't happen again. This zero is a residual of past this council and previous councils. So by looking ahead in the future, we can possibly bring in another 0 or a half a point or 1 point. But if we don't watch, that's not going to happen.
Mayor, one more comment?
Yes.
Sure. I just wanted to clarify one aspect of this whole ordinance. I've heard that, that we were down at 33 and our town was less safe. 6 years ago or so, when we worked with our then police chief to change the structure of the table of organization, our intent wasn't to take a force down to 33 officers. What we wanted to do at that time was change the mix, because we felt we were top-heavy in terms of supervision and put more police officers on the street. That was the intent of it. The intent wasn't to go down to 33 officers. What happened was a number of retirements got us down to that number. And then it took us a while. We had to bring a new chief in and figure out how to get supervision back on the streets before we could add back officers. What we're doing now over the last year is getting back to that 40 that we thought was the right number in town. The only change that this ordinance does is add 2 lieutenants, because this chief thinks he needs 2 lieutenants. I, as a citizen of Elmwood Park, wouldn't know whether we need 2 or 4 unless I take the advice and counsel of the manager of that department, our police chief. So this whole discussion, are we safer or unsafer, is really misplaced, because Councilman Caramagna said we're not on par with other towns. That's not true. If you look at our ratio of officers per resident, we're probably better than our surrounding towns. So you could throw all these numbers out. At the end of the day, we have to work with our chief to figure out what we need on the streets. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one comment about the cost. When we discussed the budget, our auditor and our finance chairman, Roy Rigoletano, indicated that we can have a 0 budget this year, but we have to look at it for next year and the following year. He warned us about that, so we have to take that into consideration. And I always agree with the statement made by Mr. Coletti that you have to look in the future. You have to look in the future. One of the reasons we have a 0 budget is because we've saved the money. And we came in with a 0 budget because we planned to keep it low. So just keep that in mind. Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Catamagna.
Yes.
Coletti.
No?
Martino.
Yes.
Pettigano is absent. Bonsino.
Yes.
Dombrowski.
Yes.
Motion carries. The next resolution on second reading is R-117-15, introduce ordinance 15-05 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 2-61 entitled Volunteer Ambulance Corps Stipend, and whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting on Thursday, March 19th, 2015, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park, that an ordinance entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 2-61 entitled Volunteer Ambulance Corps Stipend pass on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Vonsino, second.
Second.
Coletti, discussion? All in favor? Anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard? If not, I'll close the public portion of the meeting.
Mayor will need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
So moved.
Mr. Coletti and Mr. Vonsino, discussion?
Yes, Mayor. This ordinance is relative to a daytime stipend for our ambulance corps as an incentive to try and help get daytime coverage in the community, so we're increasing that stipend 50%. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, just like to let everybody know that we're increasing the stipend because we're trying to encourage more participation during the daytime hours. If you're a resident that had to call an ambulance and there was no Elmwood Park ambulance available, we'd have to go to an outside agency, and then you will get hit with a $500 fee from that agency. We're trying to prevent that. We're trying to bring in and encourage residents who are available during the day to give up their time. So I just want everybody to know that, our ambulance corps not only saves lives, but they also save us a lot of tax dollars because they're an all-volunteer service. Same with our fire department.
Any other comment? Call the roll, please.
Council members Catamagna.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Patagano is absent. Monsino?
Yes.
Dombrowski?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution R-118-15, introduce ordinance 15-08 on second reading. Whereas public notice has been given by the Borough Clerk that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance to Amend Sections 34-9, C.2, B, 34-58.3 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park entitled Zoning and Site Plan Review, and whereas said ordinance was introduced and passed at a meeting held on Thursday, March 19th, 2015, and that further consideration of this ordinance would be taken up at this meeting. And whereas all persons interested in said ordinance were given the opportunity to be heard concerning same, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Elmwood Park that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance to Amend Sections 34-9, C.2B, 34-58.3 of the Chapter 34 of the Code of the Borough of Elmwood Park, entitled Zoning and Site Plan Review, pass on final reading. Mayor will need a motion to open to the public.
Anyone in the motion?
So moved.
Boncino, Coletti, all in favor, opposed? Anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard? I'll close the public portion of the meeting. May I have a motion on the ordinance?
So moved.
Mr. Dombrowski, second?
Second.
Mr. Martino, discussion?
Yes, Mayor,
Yes.
this ordinance, I think pertains, I have a conflict voting for this ordinance because I own a building on Market Street, and but I am in favor of to expand the commercial zone. I think business is a good idea for Elmwood Park. Business bring us good rateable. Keep in mind, a building, a commercial building, usually doesn't have any children to send to school. And
This isn't the commercial zone.
Mr. Caravana, I think you're talking about the wrong
what are we
one.
now?
This is the one you wanted.
This is the,
I was reading the wrong ordinance, I'm sorry. I said second reading to the public, all right, go ahead, guys. I'm sorry.
This
Okay.
is the CO.
this is the CO.
This is you?
Any other comments?
No.
No comments?
Mayor, I would like, if you take a ride down Market Street today, you'll see about 9 or so empty buildings, empty offices. This ordinance will hopefully open up more suitors to come into town and open up a business in Elmwood Park. It makes it a lot easier for them. It gives our zoning officer the opportunity to make the decision and give him a temporary CO with conditions. So I believe that you'll start seeing, hopefully you'll start seeing some of those buildings that are empty right now to start to fill up.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I guess
let
does
me-
not pertain to my building, it's under 10,000 square feet.
Yeah, and let me just indicate that presently we have an ordinance that says anything under 10,000 square feet goes down to the subcode official. And everything on Market Street just about is under 10,000, Mr. Dombrowski, so they're covered. And the 7 or 8 units that are not occupied on Market Street haven't been occupied for years and years. They just don't even bother putting them up in some cases. So this ordinance is for everything over 10,000 square feet, and I'd like to give you some of my reasons why this ordinance should not be approved. First, the public should be aware of all applications before the planning board so that they can make comments, and by going to the planning board, they are aware of that, and they could make comments. Next, this is called transparency. The public can see all the applications and make comments concerning the application if it comes before the planning board, and how it may affect them as residents of Elmwood Park. The ordinance in effect now has been in existence for almost 50 years. I don't understand why it's a problem now to go beyond 10,000 square feet. If the ordinance is passed, it means the zoning officer will review the application with the applicant behind closed doors in his office without public input. He will have no tape, no court reporter for the public, and no public record at this time, with or without the application being sworn in. So everything that's said at that meeting will be between the zoning officer and the applicant. If the application is before the planning board, it will have 9 members of the board, the engineer, and the board attorney present. That's 22 eyes and ears to review and ask questions, not just one man, the subcode official behind the closed door where he may be misinterpreted or the applicant may be misinterpreted. All members of the planning board are residents of Elmwood Park and know our community. The subcode official doesn't live in Elmwood Park and is not all as familiar with it as people who've spent much of their lives here in Elmwood Park. Plus, the zoning board official is also an official, part-time official at Fairlawn. He's here, and he's also at Little Ferry. So he's got a lot of work to do. What happens if we get a new subcode official? And that may happen. It's going to happen sooner or later. Then we don't have a subcode official who's trusted the way this subcode official is. This is my estimate of in my estimation, this is a method of circumventing state law that requires any business with an LLC to have a lawyer for the protection of the applicant. If it goes to the subcode official, you don't need a lawyer, and that's wrong. That's hurting the applicant. The subcode official doesn't need, the subcode official is there, and the lawyer is not necessarily allowed to come to the meeting. So they're going to save money, and I think this application or this ordinance is to keep people save money by not having a lawyer. That's the reason for not having a lawyer. I think that's wrong. They should have a lawyer to protect them. Most of the applications that come in on the upper end of the amount of square footage needed are big buildings. And they have a lawyer on their staff, or they use one all the time. So whether it's a he or she, the applicant should have a lawyer to represent them at the planning board. I want to read a statement that was made on January 7th, planning board meeting. And let me just read Mr. Conti, who is the planning board attorney. I'll read the statement he made at that meeting. Whether they should do this or not, have a discussion about this ordinance. It's a decision of the governing body. There is no magic to 10,000, 20,000, or 30,000 square feet. It's purely a function of the governing body and how they feel about the borough. I will say, Mr. Conti said, as an attorney for the board for the last few years, that the board is very thorough, and in effect, I think it has done great service to the borough by reviewing all applications, particularly for parking. I do a lot of land use privately. You all know that I was a planning board attorney in Saddlebrook, the zoning board attorney in Norwood, and this board goes out of its way to make sure that the right thing is done for the borough, and not just for the board. That being said again, he said, it's purely a decision of the governing body whether this ordinance should be passed. But anyone who comes here to the planning board meeting, I think realizes that they learned this early on, that they come here to the work meeting and they come here for the public meeting and they do rough up the clientele a little bit. But the truth of the matter is 99 out of 100 times the board is just signaling the applicant to get approved, to do the right thing for them and for the town. This is what is needed. And then the public session is so much simpler because they have now said, I don't realize I had to do this for parking, or I didn't realize I had to put a dumpster here, or I didn't know I had to do some other items of approval. This board has been very consistent in every application that I have sat on for all the years I've been on the board. So I think this board does an excellent job. That's the planning board attorney's statement about what he thinks of what the planning board is doing. Mr. Caramagna has indicated at one of the public meetings that what's wrong with the planning board is they have to bend a little bit, and they have to bend the rules to help the applicant. And I say no. I say no. He must follow the rules. That's what the rules are for. And the planning board helps the applicant avoid later problems by having them conform to what's going on. And also approves the application, because we very seldom reject any applications. An assessment, an area that must be resolved by the planning board. Let me just say this. There are some areas in town that you have to have a resolution. So it has to go to the planning board. There's a resolution on what they can put in, such as the shopping center. that has to go to the planning board. All of Langdon's properties, all these buildings behind us, has to go to the planning board. Sanzari's property has to go to the planning board. I believe BioReference and all their buildings has to go to the planning board. And I'm sure there are other large areas that by law must come to the planning board. What is left, the area behind East 54th Street, all that trucking area. And that's one area that we really have to watch, and it should come to the planning board. To have one person indicate that you're only going to need 3 people in one of these large buildings where they're manufacturing things is wrong. We should have that come here so that the zoning board, the planning board can hear it, the engineer can look at it, the attorney can hear it, and we don't have any more real major trucks coming into that area. I think it should be tabled, again, for further discussion. Thank you.
Mayor, can I say something?
Yes.
Respond to you. First of all, when I made a comment, I said bend the rule, then I corrected myself to Mr. Voncino, if you recall. I meant to say there should be change in the ordinance.
Okay.
Right, you remember that? Also, you make it sound so easy, that people go before the planning board, they have to take an attorney. A small business, if you have a strip mall, it's over 10,000 square feet, you have a pizzeria there, and somebody tries to sells the pizzeria to another guy who wants to keep the same pizzeria there, he has to go before the planning board. That's not right, because nothing changed there. If this pizzeria maybe is a small corporation, he has to bring an attorney. The attorney costs a lot of money. You say a couple $100, I don't know. They talk about thousands of dollars for a small guy who wants to make a living. He wants to start a small business, and you all of a sudden hit him with so many meetings. Why? It didn't wait 2 or 3 months. I remember there was a business in town, I don't want to say the name. He had to come 3 or 4 months. By the time he paid 6 months of rent, he went out of business. He didn't have any more money. That's the person I'm talking about. You think about strip mall that we have. Change, the same business goes in. Why do they have to go before the planning board? Okay? And I'm on the planning board, and really, I don't want to make any comments on anybody there. But Mayor, we needed to change something on the planning board, maybe some people there. Not for them, they do a good job, they're good people, but they cannot be there forever. So there's other people. Today's the year 2015. You keep the people that have been there since the year 900. So, but what I'm saying, Mayor, this has to change. Make it easy for the business to come in. Okay, make it easy. That's all I'm saying. I vote yes for this, and I hope everybody else does the same.
Mr. Caramani, if I may, anybody on Market Street under 10,000 just goes down to the zoning board official, and he either approves it, and quite frankly, he sends quite a few of them back up to us because he feels he can't do it, or it shouldn't be before him. So that's under 10,000. We're going over 10,000 to whatever number it is.
I think the strip mall is over 10,000 square feet.
Yes, strip mall is
Yeah.
over 10,000.
you get a little
Yeah, but I'm
guy
talking
there.
about the little stores, the stores on.
They stay empty because they're
No,
afraid
they're
to
not
come.
empty. The strip mall's not empty.
Maybe not.
The strip mall's
There's
not
always
empty.
for rent
Maybe
sign.
there's one store they changed, they're not making money. We had
I don't know, I
somebody.
try to make it easy for business to come in. As I say, they pay money, they're good for us, good rateable. That's all I
Well,
say. Thank you.
Many of the businesses, and you keep forgetting this, many of the businesses that come in rent. So they're not bringing more taxes into the borough, they're renting the same building. Okay, that's number one.
This way, the
And
owner
number
be
two,
able, Mayor,
excuse
the
me,
owner be able to pay the tax if he rents it.
sure,
It's the same thing, trust me.
sure. So he comes in and he goes to the planning board and we don't have a problem with parking, et cetera. The other problem we have here is that many of these buildings that are going over 10,000 square feet, they don't even live in Elmwood Park. I'm worried about the residents of Elmwood Park. If you have a building coming in and you make a mistake on parking, you make a mistake on a number of trucks coming in, number of employees coming in, and things like that,
But Mayor,
you're going to
excuse
run
me.
into a problem. Wait a minute, wait. You're going to run into a problem. If you want to vote for this, please vote for it. That's up to you. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. I'm
In
saying
other
it
words,
should
what
be-
he's saying that the zone officer is not capable to judge if a business is good or bad. We have a zone officer. He goes in to check, to inspect, if they need improvements. he will ask them to improve that before he gives a continuance of CO.
Yes.
All right.
And what I said in my statement was that when you have 9 members of the planning board, the engineer sitting here, the planning board attorney sitting here, you have a lot of eyes and ears listening, so they could come up with new ideas. I'm not questioning the ability of our zoning board official. I'm just questioning it's better the way it is. It's been like that for 50 years, and people are moving in, so I don't see any problem with that.
Maybe some time changes will be better.
Well,
After
you
50
just
years.
indicated everybody on the planning board you consider good, knowledgeable, et cetera. Let's keep them there. They haven't done anything wrong. At one of the meetings, you even indicated that you had hundreds of people you know wanted to come in, didn't come in. We don't get hundreds of people before the planning board in 5, 6 years. Call a roll, please.
On roll call, council members Catamania,
Yes.
Coletti,
Yes.
Martino,
Yes.
Pettigano is absent, Bonsino.
Yes.
Dombrowski.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mayor, this evening under the consent agenda, excuse me, we have Resolution 119-15, payment of bills, Resolution 120-15, payment of escrow, Resolution 121-15, confirmation of payroll, Resolution 122-15, recycling tax identification statement approval, Resolution 123-15, authorize execution of recycling professional tonnage grant assistance program, Resolution 124-15, redeem third-party tax lien, 511 River Drive, Resolution 125-15, redeem third-party tax lien 10 North Street, Resolution 126-15, redeem third-party tax lien 10 North Street, Resolution 127-15, redeem third-party tax lien 6 Beach Street, Resolution 128-15, authorize agreement for traffic signal at Route 4 and East 55th Street, Resolution 129-15, authorize agreement for underground remediation at the municipal building, Resolution 130-15, authorize coin toss events for Defender Company Number 2, Resolution 131-15, authorize release of engineering escrow 307 East 54th Street, Resolution 132-15, approve length of service program, LoSAP, for calendar year 2014, Resolution 133-15, appoint firefighter and Company 2, Resolution 134-15, authorize mutual aid agreement, Resolution 135-15, emergency sewer main repair, Market Street and Boulevard, Resolution 136-15, appointment of Board of Adjustment member, alternate number 2, and Resolution 137-15, appoint substitute crossing guard.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Keith, I have a question.
Mr. Dombrowski, second.
Mayor, 1
Wait a
second.
minute, wait, 1 second.
Okay. Discussion.
Can I have a second?
You could have 2.
Okay, I only need 1. Okay, any comments?
No, 125 and
It's
126.
two separate and distinct liens on the same property.
Okay, that's what, 'cause I saw the same address and I,
Yep.
okay, that was my second, Mayor.
Thank you.
You got the rest.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
On roll call, council members Catamania.
Yes.
Coletti.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Pettigano is absent, Bonsino.
Yes.
Dombrowski.
Yes.
Departmental reports, we have the library board minutes for February 23rd, 2015, and the finance department report for February 2015.
Motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Mr. Martino, second.
Second.
Mr. Dombrowski, all in favor, opposed, so ordered. Council reports, Mr. Martino?
Just a few things. Today is...
Excuse me, Mr. Martino, I'm sorry. We have to take a break while we
Okay.
change the tape. I'm sorry, Mr. Martino?
Yes.
We're back in session again, please.
A few things. I'm just going to... Am I ready? Since Councilman Pettigano's not here, I just want to tell you, April 11th, next Saturday, is the start of opening day baseball, 11 a.m. Hopefully, some of us can attend. It's always a great day. April 29th is the homeowners meeting, and today is National Autism Day. I don't know much about autism, but I read the papers and I see what goes on, and I know a few families that have kids with autism. The amount of work that they do is tremendous. I don't know if I could do it, but I'm sure if I had that issue, I would have to deal with it like they do, and I have to applaud all the parents and everyone that helps these children on a daily basis move forward and live in a subnormal life, because unfortunately with their problem, it can't be always normal. That's what I'd say.
Thank you, Mr. Martino. Mr. Coletti?
Thank you, Mayor. The other night, I received a disturbing phone call from my son, Bob Coletti Jr., who's actively involved in town in the sports. He's a coach. And he brought to my attention that in an unprecedented move, the county is looking to charge the borough $5,000 plus for the use of Gilbert Avenue ball field. Now, from what I understand, we haven't had to pay anything in the past. I could be wrong, the sum could be slight, but it's nowhere near $5,000. Keep in mind that the deal that has been preserved over the years is that we can have the ball field there. We can't build any structures on it because it is a well there for water for Garfield. And as long as we stayed within those parameters, there was no discussion of a charge. And also keep in mind that we maintain the fields. So is the county going to charge us the $5,000 plus and then take care of the fields?
No.
Thank you, Mayor. Maybe you can
Yes.
shed some light on
I can
it.
actually-
As far as I know, I've made some phone calls, and the county is not going to be charging any additional fee for the use of the field across the street from Gilbert Avenue School, at least for the spring ball games with Little League and the men's softball. I think we should get in contact with them again to see if we can continue all the items you're saying. It's never been done before, we clean it up and so forth. But we're okay for all the spring sports that are coming in.
I just hope
And
that...
Mr. Comrie, Bill Comrie is the acting Parks Director. So he's trying to get himself up to speed, so we have to give him some leeway now. And I think we have to contact him through Mr. Kazmark and ask him to waive those fees as has been done in the past and give him the reasons why.
Well, I hope the county takes note. We all have budget problems, and if they need to tax us, because that's in essence what this is, it's a tax to the town in an area that never was used before, shame on them. They should look to cut fat in their budget before they reach out and tax us again.
Thank you. I'm glad I can clear that up a little bit, at least for the first part.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Catamagna?
I'm next. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone happy Easter. And talk about all this, maybe say something. Tonight I forgot to wear blue. I have a yellow, gold, whatever. But in my heart I have blue. Because I have a nephew who has autism. And my sister been dealing with this. My sister, I would say, my nephew. It's my great nephew. Since day one, and I tell you, it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of courage, a lot of tolerance, and thanks also to the facilities they help this kid quite a bit. A big change since he was little, and I can see the change in myself. It's great. And now he sees me, he hugs me. Uncle Frank, when he was little, he don't know who I was. So happy for that. Say, the planning board, we are going to review the prints for the high school, I guess the fields. Tell you the truth, I didn't see them yet. I will plan to see them Monday, as we cross tomorrow, right?
Say that again?
We have the blueprint ready for the high school,
On
for
Wednesday?
the fields. So they available to us, the planning board, to see them before we meet next Tuesday.
Okay, but the planning...
You get that, right?
We'll be here for the planning board, and the school will come in before the planning board on Wednesday, next Wednesday, just to present it. The planning board has no authorization to approve it or disapprove it, they just have to present it.
Yeah, I know that, yeah, right. Also, I read the community news, and I saw that, talk about the zero increase on municipal tax. And I agree with Mr. Coletti that this council, the council before, and the council before that, we're very responsible and very frugal on spending. That's why we have the extra money. Also, this present council last year was able to save over $200,000 by giving the county the Board of Health, and really, they do a good job as before, and we're very happy for that. So over $200,000 a year will be a lot of money. If I figure like Mr. Caleri, maybe it comes to millions of dollars. So I'm very happy for that, and I hope next year also be able to keep our tax at minimum. We try zero again, if possible. Mayor, I have anything else? Just a peace be with you and all of you guys. Happy Easter.
Thank you.
Buona Pasqua.
Buona Pasqua.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Yes, Mayor. As Councilman Martino and Cataman, you mentioned, today is National Awareness for Autism, and I'm glad to see many of you are wearing blue today out there. I'm glad to see many of us up here are wearing blue to show our support. The Chamber of Commerce on April 18th will hold their first bowl-a-thon at Parkway Lanes. It'll start at 5:30. It's a Saturday, April 18th. Starts at 5:30 to 8. It'll be $25 per bowler, which included will be pizza, soft drinks, bowling for 2 hours. You'll get your rental shoes, and you'll get a free game coupon to return. It should be a really fun night. It's going to be, the establishment said that they'll cater to all types of bowlers. They'll cater to even young kids. They'll put bumpers in the gutters. So I know none of us need those, but it'll be nice. It should be a nice night, and hopefully we'll see a lot of the residents out for that. Tomorrow starts Passover, and for our Jewish faith friends, I wish you all a happy Passover. Of course, Easter Sunday, I wish all the Christians out there a happy Easter. I also noticed that we did pass tonight the coin toss for the firemen, which will take place on April 11th. And I hope that the residents do support the fire department. As I said earlier, they and our ambulance corps serve this community. They save us many tax dollars. Please be generous if you see them at the coin toss. And lastly, I'd like to comment on Mr. Coletti's discussion about the county charging. I've been very involved with it. Had numerous phone calls with the county. I discussed it at length with the Deputy Director, Ron Submaranian. And as of yesterday, an email went out to the President of Little League, to the Treasurer of Little League, letting them know that they can pick up their permits at no charge for this year. Now, residents, if you all recall in the paper a few weeks ago, you read that the county was charging schools to start using the facilities that they've been using for free over the years. There's been an ordinance in the county for many years that says that anybody that uses county property has to pay a fee. That's where the fee came up. The fee of $5,000 is completely false. It's $1,500. I don't know where $5,000 came out of the sky. The fee is $1,500 to use any county facility for a lengthy period of time. The discussion that I had with the Deputy Director was that we maintain these fields. Our people line the fields on a day-to-day basis. They cut the grass. There should be no charge. And they completely agreed, and there will not be a charge this year, and hopefully ever. So I just want everybody to know that that has been taken care of. Progress.
Thank you. Mr. Boncino?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. First, again, I'd like to welcome and congratulate Ryan Nichols to our police department. It's refreshing seeing a young man just starting out his career. He has a lot of growth and development in front of him as a police officer, but I know I speak for the entire governing body to wish him nothing but a safe and successful career in law enforcement. And last public meeting, I talked about New Jersey Sem and the gas contract that was settled for the 120 or so municipalities. The New Jersey Sem will be going out for their electric bid on April 16th. So maybe by the next public meeting, I'll have the results. But for power and lighting contracts, they're seeking a bid price 5% below the price to compare. And they're looking for anywhere between a 12 and 24-month contract. So that'll be happening, and hopefully I'll report on that soon. And then finally, for our residents, happy Passover and Easter to you and your families. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Same here for Easter and Passover. Obviously, two happy holidays, so we wish everybody well. Let me just indicate and thank publicly Congressman Pascrell for his work on the railroad crossing down on Midland Avenue. I hope what he's doing there works. We don't want anybody getting caught on the tracks, but, I still kind of feel a big sign of whatever he's doing, plus a big sign indicating, don't stop on the railroad tracks. It happened to me again just this week right here on River Drive, where the railroad tracks are, where the Dunkin' Donuts is. They were lined up at Market Street and lined all the way back, and somebody was sitting right on the railroad tracks. Instead of waiting for the car in front of him to get off, he was right on it. I tried to use some good sense, and I backed up. God forbid a train was coming, that he could back up and get off the railroad tracks. Fortunately, that train on the Susquehanna line there doesn't travel too fast, and I hope they would be able to stop. But people just have to be alert. They just have to be alert. So thank you, Mr. Congressman Pascrell, for all your work. And we have been trying to do something with the Department of Transportation on that railroad track for years. We had Police Chief Ingrassalino there many times. We had Chief Thompson there. That's out of our realm. That's the railroad that goes through the federal government, and they have to do it. So Congressman Pascrell has helped us a lot with that. As mentioned today by Mr. Catamagna about the planning board meeting on Wednesday of next week, they're going to have the details of the football field coming in and fixing that whole area up with artificial turf. If you want to come here and hear some of it here, please do so. The planning board hears it, but they don't vote on it. Okay, but they're obligated by law to come to the planning board, the school. I recently went to a meeting with our friend from Woodland Park, Mr. Kazmark, the mayor, and we went to a Passaic County Board of Realtors meetings, in which there were a lot of mayors from Passaic County there. And I have to tell the council here and everybody in the audience and people watching on TV, every town's having this problem with the narcotics. Wayne is going crazy with it, and Wayne has a lot more police than we do. But every town that was at the meeting and every town's mayor that was at the meeting indicating they're having problems with people going in and out of Patterson and purchasing drugs and coming through our towns. We're doing a great job trying to catch these people, but please be aware, 90% of these people are coming from out of town and driving through, and we're catching. So that's the important part, but please don't think that we have a town full of drug users. We went over the Artesian Wells business on the field there. We're also having a 100th anniversary committee meeting, the first meeting on April 7th. That's next Tuesday. We have close to 70 people who want to be on that committee, and we're going to have close to 50 coming to the meeting. I hope they all do attend. The weather is much better now, so I'm hoping we get a good turnout for that, and then that gives us the privilege of having a good 100th anniversary celebration next year.
What time is that, Mayor?
It's 7 o'clock, I believe.
Thank you.
I'll close my report. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in the public portion? Joe, check with Keith tomorrow. I think it's 7.
Jeffrey Freitag, 35 Hillman Drive. Oh, this is a recorder or something here?
No, it amplifies it better.
That takes every word
You're
you
good.
say down. It'll be forever, ever. We keep it, whatever you say.
Hope you do. Regardless.
The videographer put that there. The speaker now comes all around and goes through all these microphones, and it's working much better.
Great. I do have one question. I heard Mr. Caramagna, Councilman Caramagna. The planning board members, you don't get a copy of the thing upcoming on the 8th regarding the field? You didn't get copies or the prints? Or
I can't answer that question. I don't know if they did.
I mean, did each member, I thought, would get a...
Well, they may be getting
Each
it.
member of the planning board
Right.
gets a copy, yeah. not
He's
the-
asking, did you get it yet?
Well, it's here for us to pick them up. I didn't get a chance. Yeah.
through the mayor, Mr. Kazmark, did just one copy come, or?
I don't know. That's filed with John Adamo as
You
the
have to ask
as the
John.
planning
Okay.
board secretary.
But I thought it might
So
come-
it's
come from
no,
you all.
I have not gotten a copy of it, but
Oh.
it is filed with the planning board.
Because I know in the advertisement, it said they could come to your office and view it.
They would have been directed to the planning board office.
Okay. That was, one other thing, regarding the fire hydrant issue. I have a fire hydrant in front of my house. The only thing I would comment about that is, I noticed, and maybe this is just a guess on my part, all the fire hydrants on my street are on the north side of the street, where the snow does melt more quickly than on the south side, regardless of that. But the parking is on my side of the street in a snowstorm. In other words, if there's snow, the people park on my side of the street, which is fine with me because I don't end up with it all over my sidewalk and have to shovel it after they come. But regardless of that, what happens is the other side of the street is plowed very well and right to the curb. Yet on my side of the street, where the fire hydrant is, and I do shovel it, and I saw that it's supposed to be 5 feet, which would, I guess, I would assume it must mean I must shovel 10 feet, 5 feet each way. It says 5 feet in any direction. Now, and the sidewalk is on the other side, so that's shoveled anyway. This street doesn't get cleaned. For whatever reason, for the most part, the DPW doesn't return and do that side of the street. So then, really then I'm shoveling the street also. So throughout the whole town are, for the most part, fire hydrants on the north side of the street, and was that ever considered with the parking ordinance, where the fire hydrants were?
I don't think so. But I don't know where all the fire hydrants are, on the north side, the south side, the east side, the west side.
You're walking, I figured you might have noticed. I just kind of looked the other day, and that I did notice, for the most part, they do appear to be on the north side of the street. And maybe with good reason, the fact, for whatever the reason, just ended up that way. But it would just be something, I would assume the DPW or somebody must have considered that at some point.
It's a good question.
But just to bring it up about the snow on the street, unless somebody shovels that too, and is that considered in the ordinance?
Well, I'm not with the fire department, but I suspect if your sidewalk's there and that's clean and you got 5 feet on either side, they'll be able to get the hose in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I'm saying the snow might be high on the street side too.
That's true, and if a plow goes by the next day, it could shovel it back in again.
The trick
Right.
is to see it, Jeff.
Pardon me?
The trick is to see the hydrant. That's the trick.
Okay, thank you, and everyone have I'll be all encompassing a solemn Passover and a solemn Easter, as the celebrations are considered happy, but they are somewhat solemn by nature. But anyway, celebrate in whatever way you may seem fit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Steve Conti, 274 Market Street. Regarding that fire hydrant ordinance, what happens if someone is handicapped, disabled? My sister lives on Miller Ave, fire hydrant in front of her house. She's basically these days in a wheelchair and she's blind. Her plow guy, he plows the sidewalks and stuff like that. If you have a lot of snow, it's going to be a cost to her to have this guy shovel out the hydrant. Now, I'm sure you have a lot of other elderly people and or handicapped people that also are in the same boat as she is. So now, to me, I understand the ordinance, but it's discriminatory towards handicapped and elderly people that can't do it. And it's also costly for them. So how do you resolve that?
In a situation like that, Steve, they should notify the fire department, and I'm sure there'd be a special dispensation for that case.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. The sewer main issue that was on the corner of Market and the Boulevard, and I know it was resolved, I assume it was resolved after a number of diggings. I know there was a lot of damage at St. Leo's Church in their basement. Who's responsible for repairing of that? I'm just curious about that.
I'm going to let Mr. Kazmark handle that, but I do know that They had a problem there with their equipment down the basement of the church.
Okay, I was just curious about that. We don't have to
It
go
wasn't functioning right. It shouldn't have been going down there. They should have turned. Am I right, Keith?
Do they have a check valve on there?
Yeah, there's supposed to be a check valve, which they didn't check and see that it was functioning.
Okay.
I'm aware of the damage. I did have conversation early on with Scott Karts about this and directed him to have them come in and file an insurance claim with the borough if they wish to. It would have been evaluated by the insurance company. However, to date, we haven't received such a claim.
And I might add, I sit on the claims committee with JIF, and that did come before us, so it is being considered. The claim is being considered.
Okay. Police department. With the increase in the number of police officers that we do have, and the number of drug busts that they are making, what happens to whatever monies that they accumulate in these drug busts? Does that stay with the police budget?
It depends how much. If they're picking up people with heroin, I'm not sure whether it goes to the county. I think they're trying to set up a program in the county where all drug users would go to the county, convictions or whatever.
Yeah, but I thought that in the past, your generator back here, your old generator was, I believe, was purchased with a drug bust years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, you get some of that money from the prosecutor.
Regarding the number of police officers, I think you should pass an ordinance that they shouldn't go below 40.
We have an ordinance that says 40 maximum.
Correct. It shouldn't go below 40. Okay? I mean, we're all concerned about the amount of drug busts in this town, the thoroughfare on Route 4. Most of your issues are on that Route 4 corridor. Okay? It's been like that for a long time. And the presence of police officers up in that area is probably the most important thing you could do right now. You got the apartments. You know, I said it last time, you had that big brawl a couple weeks ago in the apartments with 14 or 15 kids with bats and tire irons and the whole 9 yards. I understand your concern about taxes. Unfortunately, taxes never go down. In this regard, you have a zero ordinance, a zero budget increase. I would tell you to raise it 1%. Build your nest egg for future increases that you may have. Okay? And that's just my point of view when it comes to that.
Steve, if I may, before you get off the topic, let's keep in mind that we have 4 dispatchers.
I understand.
And 4 dispatchers, in my opinion, they represent some type of police presence. Now, you can't go 1-to-1, maybe you can't go 50-50, but would you say that 1 dispatch equals, 4 dispatchers equal 1 police officer?
No way. They don't have any policeman's rights. They can't make arrests. They can't do anything. They can't even take a report.
They're sitting at their desk, alleviating that time that a police officer would have to sit.
It's putting a police officer on the street and not behind a desk.
Exactly. So now that was the purpose of it, and it should have been some equation to where we could say, in essence, we have 41 police officers.
No, you can't say that.
I think we could. That's my opinion.
When we were down to 33, okay, with all the retirees, okay, it was dangerous. The guys on the department, it was dangerous for them, especially if they had no backup. You know, no offense, on a Saturday morning sometimes, if I call for a police escort for a funeral, they'll tell me, Steve, I can't come. I only got 2 guys on the road. 2 guys. Before. Okay? So it was a dangerous situation for this town. So you shouldn't go below 40. My opinion, okay? Now, the zoning ordinance that you passed tonight, you're talking about the empty stores. It's not going to solve that problem. What's going to solve that problem is your shared parking ordinance that has been discussed for years. Now, give you an example. You You have a gentleman that has some stores across from the diner. Who owns the diner? Who owns where the bank is? Who owns the vacant building behind that? He owns those properties. If you had a shared parking ordinance, he could probably rent those stores. Because, why? He has parking across the street. But right now, can't do that.
He can put in for that. He can come to the planning board and ask for that.
Mayor, please, shared parking ordinance. And let me ask one other question. Across the street where we park the excess cars, who owns that property?
State of New Jersey,
Okay, so what are you doing right now?
leasing it.
Okay, same thing, shared parking ordinance. Okay, that would help businesses in town. And I keep on going back to businesses in town. And you made a very interesting comment, too, before when you were discussing things about, well, business owners don't live in town.
Major business owners. And many business owners.
Okay, Mayor, that's a slap in the face
Why?
to business owners.
Why?
They bring revenue to your town.
Sure they do.
Okay, that's a slap in the face to business owners.
No, the reason I mention that is I think that people should come to the planning board so everybody should know if they're infringing on any property that belongs to the residents.
I think that was a poor comment to make.
Well, I think it's correct.
I don't think so. And again, you're talking about your zoning official. He's not incompetent. He knows his job
Right.
for that continuous CO. Okay. We need to streamline things in this town.
What's wrong with the planning board doing it?
We need to streamline
They've been
things in
doing
this
it for
town.
50 years.
Maybe that's part of the problem.
No, it isn't. The property you're talking about across the street from the diner, if that man doesn't want to rent that property out, it's not going to be rented out. And he's got parking problems there. And there are times when he doesn't want to rent it.
Parking problems. Yes, street parking problems.
Right.
Certainly doesn't have any parking problems across the street.
Well-
That's my point.
The point that you're talking about, if you want to put parking, as you're saying, in front of the Bank of America, you're saying that the owner of that property owns that. I don't know if anybody's going to go back there and park back there and walk across the street to go to a cleaner's.
That's not the
That's their
point.
decision.
That is not the point,
That's the
Mayor.
point.
The point is, there is property he can use to park,
Right.
okay? Whatever kind of store he rents there, okay? He shouldn't be denied for parking if you had a shared parking ordinance.
He should not be denied?
Correct.
He's never denied.
Okay.
When he comes to the planning board,
Let's not go around in circles here.
And it's like the bakery. Never deny them for parking.
Okay. Any tickets issued over this past winter for unplowed sidewalks? Okay, I got my answer. You're talking about the developers in town, that they've done these projects in town. What have they ever done for us? You have projects going on. I won't bring up a town, but I'll bring up a couple. Garfield, the gentleman, did a major project on River Road. He's doing something for the town. You had somebody in Clifton and Woodland Park area, and that developer is doing something for their towns. What have any developers done for this town?
They have an authority in Garfield that they can do it through the authority. We don't have an authority like that.
That still doesn't answer my question, though. What has any developer done to help this town? Nothing.
You tell me.
I just told you. Last thing I want to discuss, believe it or not, I get up Sunday morning, get up, have my coffee, turn on my iPad, and I said, let me watch last week's meeting. So I'm watching last week's meeting, and it came to point to, now let me open the floor to the public. And it stopped. There was nothing after that. So what did I do? I watched a couple of previous meetings. And a couple of the previous meetings, public comments were there. So what did I do? I emailed Mr. Kazmark. I called Mr. Pedigano, who's not here, and I made a couple of other phone calls. Can anybody tell me? And then that meeting was off the website. And then miraculously, the next day or two, it came back on with the public comments. So could anybody explain to me what happened to the meeting?
Mr. Casmark, do you have any idea?
Getting it on tape, let's just say.
Wayne can specifically explain it to you, but when Wayne takes the DVD, he transfers it over to someone who reviews it, so to speak, to make sure that the audio and video are clear. And somewhere in the technical aspect of that, it was cut off at that point, but as soon as my office was notified, we took corrective steps to make sure that the entire meeting was posted on the website.
I would still like to reiterate one last point. And it goes back to what I said 2 weeks ago. Mayor and council, business community need to work together to adopt a shared parking ordinance, to get a better cooperation in this town. Shared parking ordinance has worked in other towns. It works in Fair Lawn, and it works in a few other towns. I really think that before September comes around, I think you gentlemen need to research it, get it on the docket, and get it passed. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Evening, Mayor and Council. Dan Goldeck, 44 Godwin Ave. Regarding the hydrant issue, what was the previous fine or penalty for not shoveling out your hydrant? To the homeowner?
$2,000.
Keith,
$2,000.
you would probably know, but I don't think there was one.
No.
Keith, do you know of any?
I'll be honest, I don't recall off the top of my head.
Was it against the? It is against the law, or was it just
I
a?
don't think there was a fine to it.
There was no dollar amount to it.
But there was a summons that if you didn't follow that, there would be a procedure. Was there something?
The way that this ordinance came to the mayor and council's attention was because there was not a definitive enforcement authority, and the council needed to consider whether or not they wanted the building department, the fire prevention bureau, or the police department to take jurisdiction over enforcing the ordinance. And with that consideration came the amounts that are now in the ordinance to define the fine if the person goes to court.
Okay. Was there any facts or statistics presented from the fire department or anyone, whether this has been a problem in the past, whether this affected operations of the fire department?
Yeah, I mean, this is a perennial problem when it snows. It's not just exclusive to Elmwood Park. It's very difficult to get homeowners, especially those who are elderly or have to hire someone to dig out their properties to clear the fire hydrants. So I know that Councilman Coletti, who is the liaison to the fire department, had expressed that. Chief Pressler had expressed that to me, but it was Chief Foligno who came up and spoke to the council about the enforcement aspect of it.
Is there a townwide registry of where the fire hydrants are? I'm sure it is somewhere.
There's a map.
Okay. Are they associated with house numbers?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Will the homeowners
They're
be notified?
associated with the water system.
Okay. Will the homeowners be notified of this ordinance or of this?
It'll be put in the Waste Watchers book, and it was indicated that they would try to notify every homeowner who has a fire hydrant in front of their house.
That's the important piece because you have.
And every business, I'm as much concerned about the businesses that don't come in and do it as much as the homeowners, because with the last snowfall, I did take a tour all through the town, but it's amazing how many people do clean out their fire hydrants.
And through you, Mayor, obviously, we won't deal with this issue until hopefully December of next year at the earliest, but it's not an automatic ticket. Just like anything else, when you have an enforcement authority, there's discretion. If you're going 26 miles an hour on a 25-mile-an-hour roadway, the police officer has the discretion to warn you. We will ask the police department and also the Fire Prevention Bureau to educate people as to this ordinance when there is an infraction prior to moving forward with issuing a summons.
Daniel, if I may, this became profound last year when we had those snowfalls were just one after another, and there was no place to put the snow. And the fire department was out there clearing fire hydrants, but it got beyond us. And that was the exceptional year. This is designed for that exceptional year. So,
Okay, no, I was just curious about the background, and I heard the discussion last month during the last work session about the discretion that the judge will have, so that clears that up. The repairs that are going to be done under Market Street with the in relation to the pump house, is that tied into the water system? Is that a whole?
That's sewer.
Sewer? Is that a separate, completely separate operation from the? No, from.
One's the sewer and one's the water.
No, I understand. I understand
They
that.
never meet.
I understand that. But is that just the boroughs? Is it connected to Passaic Valley in any way?
They're two separate
It's
companies.
the borough's infrastructure. Ultimately, the sewage that's removed from the borough of Elmwood Park intercepts with the Passaic Valley system, but not at that location.
Because I'm curious. The council authorized a bond or passed a bond to do that work in the amount of, what was the $2 million? And I bring this up out of curiosity because I know I had questioned the water reserve account, and it was discussed that we keep a portion for maintenance purposes.
That's for infrastructure to the water system. So,
And this is unrelated, you're saying?
yeah, you cannot pay for sewer improvements through the water utility.
Okay.
If there are water lines that need to be replaced, right now the council will be considering in the next few weeks the possibility of refurbishing the water tank. That can be paid through the water capital account, but sewer improvements have to be bonded separately.
Okay. Mr. Kazmark, you weren't at the last meeting. Do you know the how much is in the water capital account? Water
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can certainly, the budget's on my counter, we can look after this meeting to see what the
Okay.
surplus is.
How many different surplus accounts or areas do you have that you consider? The water would certainly be one of them. That's completely separate from your budget, correct?
Yes.
And then you have at the end of the year when the audit is completed, you know how much you appropriated for the previous budget and how much you actually spent, and that money goes into a different surplus account, correct?
You have a general surplus account,
Okay.
which is what we utilized this year to deliver the zero tax increase. And then you have a water account, which has a surplus in it, which in this case, if the council moves forward with the water tower project, for instance, we may be able to pay off that project cash rather than have to incur debt service in order to pay it off over a number of years.
Was there did the budget that's going to be approved, was any money from the water capital account used to offset any areas?
No.
At all?
No, because actually we're going to use that to do some major water infrastructure improvements, including the water tower. Once Alimo Engineering submits a proposal to the mayor and council for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to be heard? If not,
James D'Amico, 64 Willow Street. Just quick, I was at the work meeting too. I just hope if you would just look into this fire hydrant a little deeper, because there are some problems. By me, there's one on the corner. The neighbors get together and we shovel it out. But when they plow the corners, it's this high. And if it's 5 feet by 5 feet, I mean, this was an exceptional year. The problem there is nobody lives in the house. The man passed away. So were we going to send fines to the estate, And so I think there's few things that need to be tweaked on this. I'm not sure what they are, but there's some problems with it.
Mayor, may I?
the men in the fire department in your area, I understand.
Oh, yeah, they come out. We shovel them out.
That's another thing that can be looked at. If the fire department's going to have some of their people shoveling the snow, maybe the homeowner would have to pay the fire
Problem is,
department. It goes to
everybody's
them.
not like us. We come out and we shovel them out.
Yeah.
We do it, but you got to run into that problem somewhere. It's so high on the corners, and they have to do it.
Yep.
Mayor, if I may, I think that Councilman Coletti alluded to this earlier. With regard to this ordinance, we have certain property owners in town who are chronically refusing to shovel out their hydrants.
Shame on them.
And what we needed to do was provide the police department and the Fire Prevention Bureau with the tool that, when needed, they could go and issue a summons to these folks who are not doing the right thing, so to speak.
Makes sense.
And
Shame on them.
again, this is not going to be, we're not going to send out all 40 men on the police department to go out and issue tickets when the first flake falls next winter. This is there for when we have a consistent issue about a fire hydrant not being cleared. Obviously, we're going to take hardship cases into account and try to make accommodations for them, so those folks will never be in a position to be summoned. But it's really about the practical application of it and the fact that we needed to give the enforcement authority, we needed to define the enforcement authority and give them the tools to be able to do what they need to do if we have a consistent problem.
And it's 5 feet all around, is that what it's supposed
5
to
feet
be?
in any direction, as Mr. Friday
That's a lot.
articulated.
That is a lot, 5 feet in any direction. I mean, we do it on our corner, like I said. I was a volunteer fireman for a long time. I lived through a fire, so I know what it's like. I want that fire hydrant clear. It's not even on my property. One last thing, though. 24 hours after the snow, is that what the ordinance says?
I believe so.
Something like that, right?
Yes.
That's also for clearing your sidewalks.
Okay, so if the residents don't clean the snow in 24 hours, they're going to get a summons to come to court
From the fire hydrant.
from the fire hydrant.
They could get a summons, possible.
Okay. So 24 hours after it snows, if the DPW doesn't clean the other side of the street, maybe we should bring them in front of the judge. Why they're not cleaning our streets.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to be heard? If not, I'll close the public portion of the meeting. I'm fine.
So moved.
I don't want anybody cheering.
No, no.
May I have a motion to
So
adjourn?
moved.
Mr. Dombrowski, second?
I know CPR, I was going to come and help you.
All in
Or
favor?
you just want to hug me? That's
All in
right.
favor?
All in favor? Opposed? So- Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and is that on yet? Let me just indicate to the people who will be watching this, remember, we're going to be on Verizon, Channel 40, and Cablevision, Channel 77, Tuesday, 12 noon for both of them, Thursday, 4 p.m. for both of them, and Friday at 10 a.m. And of course, you can watch it on our own website.